Welcome. This is Melinda Barlow, CZT, Certified Zentangle Teacher, and this is our live Zoom class, June the 2nd. And we are doing, as you can see, we are doing bookmarks today. And if you had a chance to download the handout, we will be using those. But if you know me, I always change something a little. So whenever anybody gives me a step out or a tangle pattern, it ends up getting changed a little bit. And that's what I think we all probably should do, is change things a little bit. So we're going to start out. I'm just going to gather. Oh, and I also might work in my book. I started doing one of the tangles. Let's see if I can find it. This one right here. I started this in my book along on the pure. I didn't do the pure as a handout because I just figured we would do just bookmarks today. But if you have the book and you want to work on the pure page, you can. I'm going to set it aside. And I'm just going to get out a bookmark. And we're going to start with one of my favorite tanglers, Carole Ohl. I absolutely love her tangles. When I first started doing Zentangle, she was doing a lot of Zentangle. I think she's kind of cut back, and her real pleasure is jewelry making. So when we see a tangle of hers, it always reflects I think her jewelry skills, so which is kind of fun. And I'm going to bring my camera in so you can see this one. This is called Coaster, and I think it does have a little bit of a roller coaster type look to it, but all the tangles we're doing today are all kind of linear tangles. And the reason I love bookmarks, and last week Jean was on and she won a prize, and she came by to pick up the prize because she has to go into town, and so she stopped by and I gave her some bookmarks, and she says, I always send a bookmark to my family when I send out a birthday gift, a birthday card, because they fit in and they're all really big readers in their family. So, you know, as a librarian, I'm always big on doing a bookmark. So we're going to get your bookmark. So, okay. There. I got a phone call and it comes through my computer. I just declined it. So hopefully it wasn't important and I get to decline that phone call. So now we're just going to get out our bookmark, and you can do a string with a pencil. And sometimes that does help if you are wanting to put it in a particular place. And I'm adjusting my camera a little bit. So I'm going to take my pencil and I'm just going to draw a string. And I just did a little wavy line because I kind of wanted this to kind of go down this wavy line. And it will just kind of help me. And I found if I use a pencil string, if I decide to use it, great. If I decide not to use it, I'm okay too, because they kind of just disappear, but it just gives me some comfort. So I'm going to start at the top, and we're just going to do a really large S curve, or a snake curve. So it just snakes down, and you can see I kind of did it over the top of that pencil line so that I had a really long curve going down it. And then it wasn't just straight. This one I kind of did really just straight down it, but this one's going to have more of a, you know, a curvy spot to it. And then what happens here is it allows me, I can put my other part right on this line. I'm going to put just a little half circle. I call that the Crescent Moon start, just a little one. And that one just happened to go right on there. But this one, the next one I'm going to do so it's down here, not on that pencil line, but I want it so it's kind of on this. I'm going to draw a pencil line so you kind of see. it's kind of on that outside curve. So I just drew a pencil line down that outside curve so you can kind of see where I'm going to do it, and I'm going to fill it in. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do the same thing. And if we look at that, it would be, mine is a little below it, but you know, just has to be somewhere in there. There's no mistake in Zentangle, only opportunity. And most of the time, if I do make a stroke that is not what I intended to do, no one knows it but me. So now I have all of these little crescent moons going down every other side of my little S shape. So now I'm gonna rotate mine, because I always rotate my tiles no matter what I do. If I'm working on a piece, a big piece or a small piece, I always rotate to get it into the most comfortable position for me. So now I'm going to just start, and I'm going to draw a line out and make a ball on the end of it. And I don't know if you could see that. So I'm going to come in. And this camera, it doesn't zoom in. I have to pull it down. It's on a little arm, and so I'm all wiggly. I noticed that when I was editing, how wiggly it was when I said, I'm going to zoom in. It just doesn't zoom in. And then we're just going to go one at a time from that round curve going up, and I want that little ball underneath that line. I'm not going to put it on top of the line. It's just going to be right underneath that first line that I drew. And I like to make it, to me, they look like little straight pins with their heads, just they're all stuck in this little pin cushion. Oh, and maybe I'll put one more right there. Sometimes that happens. I think, oh, they look too far apart, and I want to just put them a little closer together. So I might go in and put them in, but I don't want them on the line. I want them right underneath the line. So, and then I'm going to rotate, and I could go all the way down on this one side and then come back, but I tend to like to rotate and then do this opposite side. And then you can see why you kind of want that little ball to be underneath that line instead of on it. Because when they meet up right there, it just has a more finished look. And I just kind of fan out as we go. So there we have our next one. And now I'm going to rotate again, because I find it much easier to rotate and to draw it. And I'm looking at my little crescent moon shape, and I might make it a little bit, even it up. But Carole Ohl just has, her website is Open Season, I believe that's the name of her blog, and she still has a lot of her tangles up there that you can go in and look at, and they are Just beautiful.
You're getting faster.
Oh, I'm sorry. This one I just kind of went crazy on. So you can see that having that done in a little curve, and I'm just gonna, you can compare them. They're gonna look completely different because I did, this one I did a little straighter and it wasn't as big. And sometimes I will even go out from both sides, but that's dangerous. I'll tell you why it's dangerous is because then when you get all the way around, your spacing can be off. So I normally only go one direction so that when I get to the end, I can adjust my spacing. So that's I have found that with my art, if I jump around and I go this way and then from this side, then come over and do this side, by the time I get to the center, I don't have, it feels uneven spacing. But if I go from one side to the other, my spacing, I seem to be able to adjust it automatically with my eye. The spacing just automatically adjusts. And I found that with Knight's Bridge is a big one about when you want to go in order. And I didn't like how that one, so I'm going to put another one in between it, even though spacing was a little, see that. And now this one, my line was kind of low and I drew my Crescent Moon up. So I'm just going to bring my little lines down so it kind of goes back down because I wanted to connect on that bottom. That's kind of part of that coaster. The look of that coaster Tangle is that it has a, just those look like little supports, I think, for a roller coaster. I live, my children live next to an amusement park called Lagoon. And for the longest time, Lagoon had one of the largest wooden roller coasters that was operating. And I think like within the last couple of years, it is being demolished. I don't think you find wooden roller coasters. It didn't look safe to me, but it was a lot. This is what you'd see, all of these kind of supports in that roller coaster. And I don't know if Carole Ohl, if that was her thought when she did this. I did not look up at, or I don't think she had any, I don't know if she had written anything about it.
Excuse me, Melinda.
Yes.
In Pittsburgh, there's a park called Kennywood Park, and we have 2 wooden roller coasters.
Oh.
They are wonderful. They just shake your brains out.
That's what this one would do too. And I went by the last time I was able to go by my children's. They live within walking distance of this park, this huge amusement park. And last time we drove to their house, I noticed that they were tearing down the old wooden roller coasters. So
that's a shame.
It is a shame. I felt bad. I'm going to have to find out a little bit more about it from them and find out why they are. They don't go to the amusement park because they live by it and they hear it every night. And they've done really good about planting lots of trees and camouflaging a lot of the sound. It's not too bad, but it is a fabulous, neat roller coaster. But I think this kind of looks like that. If you haven't ever seen one, and if you've never ridden in one, it might be too late. Have to go to Pittsburgh, right?
Right, Kennywood Park. Look it up. It's a wonderful park.
I'll have to look it up. So now I just have one left. And you can see how this one is kind of way up here. I am going to bring my supports down and just, even though it's kind of we'll see what happens. I should have just left it, but I'm just gonna just draw it like I, had, because this side, so it's kind of, that's kind of the rickety part of that roller coaster. That's what I felt like when I was riding. And it's been years and years since I've ridden on that old rickety roller coaster, but it was fun. So this is the end of Carole Ohl's. That is her Tangle. And of course, I went back and added some orbs and aura the Tangle, because you can go in and you can add more things. I always think that putting an aura around a Tangle really makes a difference in the Tangle. Shading this Tangle is amazing because it gets, so I am going to shade this one. I'm going to shade it right along with my pencil, just taking my graphite pencil, and I'm going on the dots that I did. I'm just going to do one little section so you can see. And then I'm going to take my shading stump and blend it out. And I don't want it to be too much. And then I may even skip one, which I think I'm going to add my shading here instead of up at the top. And you can do that when you shade. You can choose, to do it like every other one, and so that will make it have that 3 dimension. So when I shade here again, it gives, and I like to put down a lot of graphite. And when I'm doing a bookmark, or I don't mind using a little graphite. If I'm doing something that's, sometimes I will use my Prismacolor pencil. They don't smear as easy and rub off, but right now these are so hard to get right now. Matter of fact, the company is back ordered. I am back ordered on the cool gray pencils. I don't know when I'm going to be able to get cool gray. I think they all come from China. I don't know where Prisma makes their pencils, but I'm having a thought that it might come from China, and that's why they're so back ordered. But that is the shading. Hey, and I did one Tangle, and I did it semi-slow. Only had to be reminded once to slow down. So, and I will probably go back. When my grandchildren are here, my one granddaughter left her book, and of course, we kind of give our kids a bad time because they always leave stuff when they come to visit. But I just mailed it back to her, and I stuck a bunch of bookmarks inside when I mailed her back her book that she forgot. You can't be without your book if you're in the middle of reading it when you're 11. But you can see how that just gives it so much dimension, when this one that isn't shaded at all, I'm going to come out, doesn't, it just doesn't have the dimension. So you always want to make sure you shade. It makes a big difference in your tangles. And I will probably go in and add my orbs, because I add orbs to everything. I'm like the super lover of orbs. So we're going to move on to our next Tangle. And the next one is, and I had so much fun with this one because I didn't do it at all like the author. She's a CZT. Her name is Lin, L-I-N-C-H-I-U, and I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Lin Chiu. And her Flovine. No R. Flovine. Anyway, I don't.
Flovine.
Flovine, thank you, thank you. You know, I told you last week I'm terrible at. I have to really practice. You think I could read, but I don't know. Flovine, and I absolutely loved it because it does just kind of flow, and I ended up doing it really kind of lacy looking because it just, when I started it, I don't know, I needed a little bit more dark on it. When I do a tangle, I like to have contrast. I think that it's so important to have that drama that you need contrast. I did it on a gray and I did it on a white bookmark. And I'm just going to do it on a white bookmark because I think it's a little easier to see when I do on white tangles. So again, we're going to just go linear. It's just going to go down, and you're welcome to make it have a curve. If you want to do a pencil line, you can do a pencil line. I'm just going to do a dotted line down mine. I'm just going to do a dash, and it is, so you see how big mine is. Let's see if I can come in, let it see if it'll focus. There we go, get my hands out of the way. You can see that it is about the length of the tip of my pen. So I would say it's about a 1/2 inch long, this first little line. Then I'm going to skip about that long, about a 1/2 inch, and draw another one. And I'm just going to make this little dotted road line down my bookmark. And again, I gave it a little serpentine curve to it because it's, you know, when I get done, it's going to have this ribbony look. And so I gave it that little, you could go straight down. This would be a beautiful border on something. And I did put it in my book. Here, I started it coming out. There's a little line drawn out, and I just used that line to trace along. And I stopped, and I'm going to continue to go along that line with this, but I stopped there because I didn't want to finish up the whole book right then. So now we're going to come back to this very top after we've got all our little lines, and I'm going to give another little S curve. And I found that the larger your S curve, or that, you know, that C, and it comes from the top of that one down to the top of the next one, and then it waves out and comes back. So we practice doing that coaster, making that line, and now we're going to do, but this time we're going to touch the top of that line as we come down. And I'm just going to go right off the end. It just right off onto my paper. So I have this nice serpentine little look to it. And now I'm going to come back up to the top one, and right at the bottom of that dash, I'm going to draw around. It's kind of make it into a D or the, you know, it's just, and I'm going to do it again on this side. So every other side is going to come around. That one came up, and that's really, you know, they can come up and fit in, or they can, that's how they really. Can you slow down a little bit, please? Yes, I can. So you want to just go from the bottom, come up. This one, I don't like how that one right there, I don't like how that one is, but it's going to camouflage right in. No one's going to even notice. So then you have all of these looking things for me. They look like E's when I just looked at it. I thought that looks like, but I'm going to hold it going, not, I'm horizontal, but I'm going to look at it vertically because it's going to be easier to draw if I'm looking at it going vertically for the next step. So once you've got all of those little curve lines, we're going to come back again and go down it. And I just found it just was much, much easier going vertically. So I'm coming back up here to where I did that line, and I just finished that one line, and I'm going to come from here and I'm going to taper in and curve around and go into that little area. So it starts here, comes down and tapers in. Then I'm going to come over to this next one and I'm going to do the same thing going the opposite direction. It's going to come down and taper in. Then I'm just going to do it again. So you can see I'm just rotating back and forth. That's why I like it to be vertical.
Melinda, could you take just a little break to let us catch up? You know, I'm watching and then I go to do it and you're on the
I can.
A pause, a 30-second pause.
I will. I'll pause for you to catch up.
Thank you.
You guys are you're fabulous. You are fabulous to just keep, I will keep that in mind that that is so true. Because you look up and you see what I'm drawing and then I've gone on to the next thing, so.
Can you move the thing down, coming the other? Yes, perfect, thank you.
And I think at this point, it looks so strange. You think, what is this going to be when I get done with it? It's just looks, I think all tangles go through this when I think, I'm throwing that away. I'm not going to do it. I don't like it. And I have push your way through. When you're doing a tangle and you don't like how it's turning out, just keep going and push your way through, because you'll make a stroke that you don't care about. Like, I didn't like this stroke right here, but I'm going to go, you won't even notice this little stroke when I'm done. Matter of fact, I could come back up here and make a stroke to connect it, but I'm not going to, because I'm going to use that as part of my end of my ribbon. I'm going to come back now and I'm going to this is where I ended and I did this one. Now I'm coming to here and I'm going to stroke around. And then opposite side. Make sure you don't push hard on your pen. You're holding lightly. I say that always in my class, and it's for me, so that I don't end up not having a tip on the end of my pen, because I am so heavy-handed and I just have to be very, very careful that I don't push too hard. So now we have this strange looking tangle, and now I'm going to go back and this is where I changed just a little bit, because I could not get this little ruffly. If you have the step outs, there's this little ruffly, but there's no dark, and I always like dark. And I'm going to put my 2 down that I've done. I like dark. This one I did only every other one, and this one I did every. You can kind of see how I've changed. So I'll explain that as I do it. So now I'm going to go into that spot where that round piece and the one that kind of met here. I'm going to put a little crescent moon shape right there, so you can see it's just in that little crevice. And I can put one right here in this crevice also if I like, or I can skip it and put one there. I'm going to skip for right now and go down and show you how. So, and then I would skip this one and go to this one, and then skip this little indent and go down to this one. And you can see now I'm doing my bookmark is being held horizontally. I'm going to come back and make this one just a little bigger. I like them just a little bit more weight in there. Then I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to come and I am going to put one here. So I put one kind of in every other space. And you can do that, or I may go back, and I probably will, because I like that the little lacy look. Once I do one, I may go back and put it in every time there is a little space, but then again, maybe not. It all depends. So now that I have those little crescent moons, I can make the little lacy edge. When I tried to do it, making just a little scalloped edge, it never looked tidy for me. So now I'm going to go back, and I'm going to just put some little dots above my little crescent moon shape. I'm going to come in really close so you can see that I just did 3 little dots. That's about the space I had. I might have had room for 4. And now I'm going to just do a little scallop over that. That way, I tried just doing a scallop, and it just didn't, I don't know, I just couldn't get it to be even all the way across my little bookmark. So now I'm just gonna go above each one of those. I'll put little dots. It may be 3, it may be 4. Depending on how big. And then I will put my little scallop edge. Then I will turn it.
Melinda, what size bookmark do you prefer? How many inches wide and long?
This is 2 inches wide and 6 inches long. That's what I carry in my store, this size, and it just happened when I had them cut. It worked great on the paper that I was using. Isn't that usually what happens? And but I really prefer, I have tried others. Matter of fact, I have some smaller sizes. I'm reaching for them because I have them underneath my... I have some that are a little bit short. Oops, I have some that are a little bit shorter than 3 inches, than 6 inches, but I really like the 2-inch wide. And I get some scraps every once in a while from when I have paper cut from my store, and I insist they give me all their scraps. I get all my scraps back from the paper because it's a family company, and when I just know that they're just going to throw it out, I might as well take it home. And I just gave to my granddaughters. They came and we were organizing my craft room, and Amy and Emily went home with a big box of paper, all sorts of tiles and different sizes of tiles and bookmarks, and Emily was way excited for today's class because she got to use her big box of supplies. But I just, I will draw on about anything, but I do prefer a 2-inch wide. I found that I can get a lot of tangling on that 2-inch wide.
And I'll interject too. I have a die cut that makes bookmarks, and it is, I just measured mine now, and it is 2 by 6.
Hey, that's fabulous. Yeah, it is. And don't you find that's a great bookmark size?
It is. It's perfect.
Yeah, it is. So, and I know there's a lot of cutting machines out there that you can get to cut your papers, but I like the 2 by 6. It's just when I was in the library, I think this was the size of most of the bookmarks that we purchased was 2 by 6. But I need to.
And it's nice if you want to put a design in the middle, you still have room to put a border around it. So.
Yes. Yeah, you can. And many times I have put borders around, and, you know, it's just a matter of fact, I'll show you one of the borders that I'll do. Okay, now on this, I'm sure you're all caught up. I went slow. Now I went back, and you can see what I did. I went back and added little dots all the way around and added more little lace to the edge of this tangle. And then down that center, I just used bead line. So I just put a little dot down the center of that tangle. So right on here, I don't know who did bead line. I think it might be Carole Ohl. I really don't know who designed that tangle, but I like bead line because it's a great little tangle that just kind of looks like little stitching, and you can go down, and I just had fun with it. So to do this outside scallop, I went ahead again and put my dots along this edge. So I had my dots. Then I came back and scalloped it because there was a visual point for me to keep everything even, and I could make it lacy. And so that's how I changed this particular tangle. Once I saw that little bit of, if you have this step out, you'll see she had 3 little dots and a little scallopy thing, but I needed that dark. I just think that dark makes a difference. It helps your tangle pop. So anytime you can fill in and do something that gives it some dark lines, this is also great to be aura'd. You could aura on the inside of here. And matter of fact, I'm going to aura on the inside just to show you what. So you can aura on the inside and give yourself another place to, it also makes it have a more of a little eyelet, lacy looking, because you could take and I'm just going to shade on the inside here. And you get, it just has it makes it look like it has a little hole in it. And it's just a beautiful little tangle, just very creative, and you can just really go wild with this little tangle. So we're ready to move on to the next one. Are you guys ready? I guess so. No one said no.
I think they look sort of like old-fashioned bloomers.
Oh yeah, it is. I do reenactments, and well, actually the time period that I reenact, they didn't wear bloomers, but because it was too cumbersome to relieve themselves with all their dresses. But I have some that, because we don't, and they have this kind of lace on them. But so the next one we're going to do, my good friend Jean Pace, she brought me a bunch of tangles. She said, we need to do these, and so I copied off what her ideas, and we're going to do this one. This is a unique little tangle. It's by Sandy Hunter, and I changed it so that isn't exactly how it is. If you have the step outs, it has just a bunch of, it's a little bit more open, but I just ended up enclosing this. And I found as I was doing this that I could really vary the little dots. So I'm going to come in and I'm just going to start, and I'm going to do 2 rows of orbs.
What is its name, please?
Its name is Lolly Wimple. Lollywimple. And so I made an orb, and then I don't want to go too far away, maybe 1/4 of an inch, and make another orb. And they can be different sizes of orbs. You can do small and then large, or you can do a couple of smalls and then a large. The key is that you don't want them to be spaced too far from each other, because we're going to aura them. And I found when I aura'd these, if they were too far from each other, like that one, I just spaced it a little bit further. So I'm going to put another one right there, because I found that even if they were closer, they were, I liked how it looked when I was finished. And then I'm going to come back up here to the top, and I'm going to make another row, and they can be opposites or the same thing. I just vary my orbs. And doing random is extremely hard for me. Look at my random. If you look up, you can see I have big, too small, big, too small. Here, I was a little bit better about being more random. For some reason, when I go to do random, I start repeating, and I think that's nature, human nature. So if I ever want to do random things, I know Rick wanted to do something random. He threw a bunch of seeds out on a paper when he was doing a Tangle, when they very first started, to get random. And then he marked where all the seeds were and then put the seeds off so he could have a random, because random is extremely hard to do. So now we're just going to aura just half of your little orb. And I did not connect unless it was close enough that I could connect. I'll go back and make a little flat spot there. Unless I can, if it's too far away, and I try to get them to be equal space apart, but I'm having a hard time today making that kind of an even space aura. But I found it really won't show up. And someplace where they are further apart, I'm just going to not try to make it, I'm not going to squish it in. I'm just going to come back and I'm going to make I'm just going to connect it with a little straight line. Rather than try to make that aura, because it's randomness of it, it helps with that little randomness of it. And then I'm going to come back on this other side, the opposite side, and go down. On this not so random orbs that are almost every other . then I'm going to come back and connect those that so we have these 2 lines of orbs, and now we're just going to aura these until they meet. So I aura one side and then the other, and you can aura and come in and touch and then skip one and aura and touch and then come back and do that one. Or you can just aura all the way down, just a continual aura that doesn't ever touch. It's that I really think it's just a personal opinion. Or you can just do every one, so they, and I like to give it variety. I like to just, so I would aura, then I would come back. So I'll slow down and I'm going to show you what I would aura these 2. Maybe I would even just aura like that and not come in and touch. Then I would aura this one and come all the way down so the line touched. And maybe I would skip and then come back and do this so that the lines just are, it's just very random on there. And then we come and do the other side, and you just continue to do that until these 2 meet up with each other. And for me, this was very meditative tangle. And I think one of the reasons I like this tangle is because it's orbs, number 1. And it also gave me an opportunity. I could change pen color. And I thought, ooh, if I got bored with this, I could take my blue pen. I just happen to have one sitting here. And I could aura this in a whole different color and give this tangle just another look. And I'm not one who usually changes the color. No, I don't use a lot of colored pencils or, colored pens in. I'm a very traditionalist, but lately I have found it's very, I don't know, just very comforting to have use another color of pen, and it changes that tangle. And to make these kind of go in, I would probably come back and add a little, these little these fill in some of my little orbs with blue, because I think that it doesn't have enough dark in it. So, on this one, I did brown. I picked up a brown pen, the sepia. Well, this is actually brown. It was an 01. The 01 is considered brown. The PN pen is considered sepia and burgundy. Sepia is really dark brown, and the burgundy is the reddish color. in that in the PN pens, and I really like the PNs because I don't tend to crush the tips as much. But this is just, I mean, and you can really just be very creative in, you know, what you aura, and then they just aura in and meet. And it always surprises me that we still have 85 participants on the call. That you didn't get bored and decide to leave. So, and you can keep going until that meets. And I'm gonna stop here because I have one more I want to do, and we have only about 10 minutes. But I'm gonna take my blue pen, my blue pencil. This is a Prisma color pencil, and I'm just going to color in here with my Prisma color pencil down my center, even though I would have gone all the way so that it met. But I can take my color pencil and color in, and even come back and add more blue. But I just thought, oh, if I got tired of it, I could just meet it with a little color. And I'm not putting it down too heavy, just a little bit of color. And I was looking for my blending pencil. Well, I was going to blend it, but I can't find I thought I had it sitting right here. See, that's what happens when you do a live, and then if I were filming, I would just stop it and hunt for it, but I would just blend this out. Prisma does make a blending, oh, there it is. There's the blending pencil. And it will just blend this color, and it's just a pencil, and you can't Sue, and it just doesn't make it go lighter. And I found this is a really fun pencil. The only thing is it will not fade it out. If I want it to go from dark to light to give it a a watercolor look, I use my odorless paint thinner, and that will blend it out and make it have a watercolor look. But if I just want to blend it, I can use the blending pencil, and it doesn't add color, and it's so fun. And it's just called Colorless. And thank you for the gift. But you can see how fun that is. And I could go in and just add more tangles, but I just thought that was a really fun little tangle. And I'll probably add a border on this particular bookmark. and then maybe put some blue on the outside to kind of border it in. This one I did all the way in. I just kept going, and then I added a little color in there because I just thought it needed it for me. And I went on the outside because I got carried away. So you can just really, do your own thing with this one. It is a fun tangle. Okay, our last one that we're going to do is by okay, I gotta take my glasses off so my thing is all blurry, and Dad, can you read that? Because I can't read it. It's too blurry. What's
Jo Flanerty.
Okay, thank you. I could just Echo S Jo Flanerty. Thank you. Mine is just all blurred. I guess I couldn't tell what. And this is I love this one. I love, of course, I love anything that has round curves to it, round things. And this is, I did mine on a brown tile, and I just did them so they all kind of ended up joining together, and then I echoed it. There's
What's the name, please?
Pardon me?
What's the name, please?
It's called Echo-S. 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 And I'm going to do it on a bookmark again. And I'm going to get my black 01 out. And we start with a spiral. So you're just going to spiral. And I don't know how many, just, then you're going to come back and spiral in on itself. So it has echo S. You're doing an S, and you just keep going around until you have the spirals on both sides. So it could lay flat, or that's what I liked about it. It could just, and I'm going to do one that is kind of laying on its side. You can make it fit into different areas. And I like to lay down this first part first, and then, fill in my area with where I'm going to do this one, then come back and do the step 2 and 3. This is step 1. So I just start by spiraling. And you can determine what size your tangle is by the size of your spirals. And I'm just going to do 3 here on here. We'll see how they'll end up kind of connecting together as I do them, because of the nature of the tangle and how many little other little accents I do to this. And I am now I'm just going to come to the top. I turned my tangle so it's running vertical for me, and I'm just going to come to basically about the center top of this, and I'm going to do out and then come back in on the tangle so that it kind of does a little feather stitch. A feather stitch. You can tell I was a quilter at one time, still am, and we just step down as we're doing it, so we just get a little lower on that little stroke. And I like it to build up right here with ink, so it kind of comes in and kind of builds up. And I'm going to go down until I cannot go anymore. I've stepped down all the way until I reach that other spiral, and then I'm going to rotate it so now it's you know, like the bottom, and I've got another top, and I'm going to repeat that same thing. And I kind of just make mine so they kind of fit on that bookmark in that space. And I really, really like this when this happens, when you get a buildup of ink where those lines are just really close together. I like that. So so I do that with mine on purpose because I like how it builds up. And now I'm going to come to the next one, and I'm going to repeat that again on this one. So since this one's going sideways, I just have to look at it, and that first stroke was a little amiss, but no one will know. There I have that side. Now I'm going to rotate it so it's going this other direction, and I come to about the center and just repeat. And then I have one more that I'm going to do. And just repeating that same stroke. And this is a common stroke, I think, in Zentangle, where you feather down. And I think it's a beautiful stroke. Then we're going to rotate it again so that I have turned it around, because I find that when I pull my pen towards me, it's a little easier than pushing away. I get a finer, even stroke. It's not as shaky. Sometimes I'll rotate my tile a little bit just so that I get that look. And then we have all these feather spirals. And then we can come back in and we can do one more. And she did a couple of different variations. If you have the handout, there's a couple of variations, and I did all the same here. But one of the variations I really liked is this one, where we just put a cap on that one end of that spiral. It's like Springer, you know how and it's just going to come out. That was one variation. Or you can come in and you can do that feather stroke. I called it a stitch again. So it comes back on itself. So you can do either one of those. And it just kind of fills up that space. I'm going to put that little feather, and I'm going to do a little holly bow where it comes in, where they touch. You can do, and I'm going to do this little kind of Springer stitch on that one. I just heard my husband yawn, and I don't know about you, but I find myself sometimes yawning when I am tangling, and even when I'm doing a video, I will yawn. It's that relaxing. So if you're yawning and feeling tired, that's a good thing, because you're relaxing. And all he's doing is watching me draw, and he's getting tired. So now I went back and I aura'd this. I just put an aura around my whole little thing, just to tie these all together. And I like what happens when you aura. I think it really does. It does things to tangles. And I agree with Maria when she said, whenever in doubt, just aura. Whenever you can't think of something to do, just aura. And I agree with her 100%. That it's just... And I just kind of do that little scalloped edge that's on that tangle. And it just kind of pulls it all together. And then shading is just a matter of what you decide you want to do. Is, you know, I really enjoy shading from that dark area because it's already enhanced with a little dark. So I like to pull that dark area where I've got it in it. It just kind of helps with that swirl, that little dark area. And so that's one of my favorite places to shade. Is anywhere where I've got a buildup of pen, I will add a little graphite and pull that out.
How long does it usually take for your shading stump to wear out?
Good question, Emily. Okay, if you lay your shading stump on its side, it will last longer. And then you can take your emery board, just a plain emery board for that you use for now, and you can clean it off with your emery board. That cleans off the excess graphite, and that graphite builds up on there and causes it not to work as well. And then if you're really heavy-handed and you collapse that tip of that, I will take a paper clip and unfold the paper clip and run it up into that point and push that point back out. So I try to extend the life of my shading stumps as long as possible. So I have several of them that they get worn, but I try to just clean them up and then push the tips back out. But if you never push it, do it point down, always lay it on its side to blend, your shading stump will last a lot longer. So there we go. We even went over today. Sorry.
I use a turkey skewer to push my tortillons out.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, a skewer, that's a great idea, because some of these are too short. I mean, a paper clip, if you have a small paper clip, they don't want to go all the way up in there. So I've used a hat pin. I have a blunt end and a hat pin that I use for reenactment, and I've used that too. So, well, thank you for watching today. And we really got a lot of tangles. I hope I went slower. So, and it was fun. So
it was wonderful. Thank you, Melinda.
And we will see you next. We'll see you next week.
Great.
so much.
Thank you, Melinda.